All right, everybody. First off, thank you for coming. I appreciate everybody taking some time out of their day to listen to me and my command team bitch. Unfortunately, it is required. There's been an increase of aggression and some other things, as some of you may know. So we're just here to clear up some things, mainly on use of force, heist negotiations, hostage negotiations, and just kind of clear up some questions I know some of you have. So again, if you do have any questions throughout this meeting, please write it down and save it for the end. At the end of the meeting, we're going to save, a couple minutes for questions, comments, concerns, and have an open floor. So the categories up for discussion today are going to be use of force, heist scenes, unit limits, rank structure, and general stuff, which is just kind of a few general things. So we're going to start it off with use of force. So I want to go over shooting tires and spike strips. Also, Ryan, you in the back, can you hear me?
Oh shit, I'm just shooting. Okay, I'm just shooting.
Damn.
I'm just shooting. I don't know why that started just blasting.
What in the hell are you
It's
doing,
been a thing for a long time now.
Yeah, it just started blasting.
Do it with RPG.
I didn't even pull that out.
Hey, he wanted to be glad.
I wanted to eat my food in my pockets.
Okay, calm down.
All right, everybody calm down. Let's keep this going. Buford in the back, can you hear me or do I need a megaphone?
I hear you, fat ass.
You're good.
You're one to talk.
Shut up.
All right, we're gonna do this as fast as possible. Nobody wants to be here for an hour, so let's get this over with. So we're gonna go over use of force first. We're gonna go over specifically shooting tires and spike strips. So in the SOP, it states that at no time shooting tires is its own use of force. Now, anytime you discharge your firearm, you are ready to kill someone or do, serious bodily harm. So we don't shoot tires. If somebody is code red and they're in a vehicle, you're shooting to disable the car or you're shooting to kill. We're not shooting to get a tire. That's what spike strips are for. So let's make sure that's clear. Shooting tires is not a thing. We shoot to kill. We shoot to disable. All right. So we're going to talk about pitting as well. Pitting and boxing. So the difference between ramming and pitting. As some of you know, some of you are very good at it. Others can't say the same. The pit maneuver is a maneuver to spin out the vehicle. It is not a maneuver to send them to outer space or to flip their car. You're simply going to tap them from the back, spin them around. That is a successful pit. We're not ramming. We're not trying to kill them. We're not trying to injure them. The pit is simply to disable a vehicle and spin it out. Now, when should you go ahead and go for a pit? You should never pit above 80 miles an hour, and you should never pit if your pit is going to conclude the vehicle ramming into something. So, for example, if you're on Dorset Drive here, which is what PD is, and you pit somebody when they're heading towards a wall, you're going to kill them. Don't do that. You're going to pit to spin them out, and that's all you're going to do. So same with boxing. So boxing, again, when you're trying to box a vehicle, it's not a ram battle, okay? If it requires you to ram somebody, then that vehicle is not ready for a box. The best time to box is after a successful pit, where you coordinate all units on the pursuit to go ahead and box them in. The best is when, they're near a wall. Let's say you pit somebody and they kind of spin out off to the sidewalk, but don't hit the wall. That's the perfect time for a box because you've already got the wall covering an entire side. You get 3 cars, front, side, and back, and get the box in. Just remember, we're not trying to kill anybody. We're not trying to destroy cars. We're not trying to injure people. We're simply boxing. It's not a ram battle. And just keep that in mind when you're going for a box. Now, the big one. We're going to cover code red, what it means, when to call code red, and why we have it, okay? I know this is the biggest misconception right now. A lot of people have one opinion on it. A lot of people have another opinion on it. It's very important, and this is what's going to happen moving forward. So code red, what does it mean? If an individual or group is called as code red, that means that you are going to shoot to kill on sight, okay? Calling someone code red is a big deal, okay? We don't just call code red for small things because like I just said, if somebody is code red, you are shooting to kill, okay? You're shooting to kill. Let me make that clear. If somebody's code red, you are shooting to kill them, okay? So when should we call code red? It's a good question. Okay. So code red. A lot of people think that, just because an officer was taken hostage, it's automatic code red. And I do believe, to be honest, that the SOP says that, and that is on me for not updating that, but it will be updated after this meeting. So let's say an officer gets taken hostage, right? And they're a suspect in an Evangelico or whatever, or hostage in Evangelico, right? Just because that officer was taken hostage, moving forward, we're not going to call that code red, because there's been scenarios in the past where we've done so and it's just been kind of shitty for everybody involved. So we're not going to be shooting people just for taking an officer hostage. Now, what we are going to be doing, if they take an officer hostage, refuse to negotiate, and absolutely refuse to have any sort of wiggle room, then they will be considered code red. However, we're not going to be shooting them when there's a hostage life at risk. Okay. So the same goes for breaching. Same goes for any hostage situation. There's going to be no shots fired until we can for sure guarantee the safety of all hostages involved. Now, if they start shooting, hostages go down, all bets are off the table, unless you have room for negotiation and there's still room for de-escalation. But after shots start flying, there's not much you can do. If it's already a firefight, then it's a firefight. However, we're going to do everything in our power to make sure we do as much negotiation as possible and get everybody out safely. That's going to be its own section once George takes over. So he's going to go a little bit more into hostage negotiations. But as for code red, when it comes to officers getting taken hostage, we're no longer considering it an automatic code red just because they were taken hostage. We're only considering it code red if the suspects have no wiggle room, refuse to negotiate, and do not care for anybody's safety. Now, other situations for code red. So if at any time your life is in immediate danger, what that means, if somebody rams you going 150 miles an hour, if somebody's shooting at PD, any deadly force will be matched with deadly force. So that's another code red situation. Now, to touch on the vehicle one, let's say you're in a pursuit, a secondary vehicle pulls up, you're getting rammed. What we're not going to do after the first one, we're not going to immediately consider them code red. What we're going to do, we're going to give 1 or 2 warnings depending on the situation and severity. They need to be warned one time. If they do not fuck off, they will be considered code red. And what does code red mean? They're going to die, okay? If they try to kill you, you're going to kill them. It's self-defense. That is our use of force policy. Protect yourself, protect civilians, protect your fellow officers. A lot of people don't consider a ram deadly force. It depends on the speed, okay? So this is your discretion. If you get rammed at 150 miles an hour in a pursuit, that is deadly force, and you match it with deadly force. Okay, so code red, deadly force, that should be enough coverage. And again, if you have questions, save it for the end. And the SOPs will be updated with examples, better descriptions, etc. Okay, next thing on the use of force, we're going to talk about melee weapons. Okay, so some melee weapons are deadly force, a knife, even a bat. Any weapon of any sort that is deadly and has deadly properties is grounds for deadly force. If somebody is running at you with a knife, just because it's not a firearm doesn't mean you're not going to shoot them. If somebody's running at you with a knife, that knife will kill you in one stab. So you're going to shoot them because that is your use of force policy. Deadly force is matched with deadly force. Okay, that should be clear. We're going to move on to excessive force and aggression. So recently I've seen an increase in police aggression towards suspects, civilians, etc. So at the end of the day, guys, remember, we are police. We serve the community. Okay, we need to understand that not everybody is a criminal. Even on a simple traffic stop, there's no need to be that ego W piece of shit cop. All right. If you have respect shown to you, show it back. At the end of the day, we are also public service. Not everybody's a criminal. We have to understand that, if we continue down this path, it's not looking good for us. That's why Hell Week started. That's why a lot of other shit started. And we need to make sure that we have good community relations, because if we don't, it's going to be hell for us. I just want to make that clear. So again, excessive force and aggression should never happen. As long as you're following your use of force policies, you'll be all right. The main thing that I've seen is, excessive pitting and boxing. The SOP is very clear on when to pit and when not to. So I highly encourage everybody to take a reread of that section. Make sure you understand, because that is the biggest thing I've seen recently is aggression in vehicle pursuits, lack of spacing, excessive pitting, pitting too fast, not spacing their pits. You should not be pitting every 5-10 seconds. If pits are clear, you should be spacing your pits 30 to 60 seconds apart, even longer. It is discretion. There's no hard number, but please, there's no need to pit somebody and then pit them again 5 seconds later. All right, last thing, breaching. So breaching, I'm going to give you an example. Let's just say there's a fleeca, right? And there's 2 hostages. There's 3 suspects. Let's say that all 3 suspects are clear. We can see them and nobody has a gun out, right? So let's say nobody has a gun out. No suspects have a gun out. There's 2 hostages. No weapon, no knife, no melee weapon, no nothing that can endanger the hostage's life. That is clear for a breach, okay? If we get a chance to take them out with the hostages safe, we're going to do it. Now, however, on the flip side, we're always going to, go for the lowest form of aggression, as stated. So if there is an opportunity to negotiate without having to shoot your gun, you're always going to take that avenue first. But if it's looking like it's going to go south and you have an opportunity to breach and the hostages are not in immediate danger, the highest officer on scene will make the call. Okay, so even if you see it, and let's say you're a cadet on scene and I'm on scene, you're not going to make that call. The highest officer on scene is going to make that call. And, the second you see an opportunity, go ahead and let your highest officer on scene know. They'll make the final call on that. But again, the hostages have to have 0 risk to their life to make that call. All right. I think I've covered everything on my use of force. So if we don't have anything else, command staff, for use of force, we're going to move on to heist scenes, which George Allen is going to take over. So go ahead if there's nothing further.
I don't really have anything further other than hammers and wrenches also deadly force.
Then in the middle.
Hammers and wrenches also deadly force. Those things will just split your fucking head open. All right. We got some hostage negotiation shit. It's fine to deny an unreasonable demand. Like, if you don't want to dance, you don't have to fucking dance. Okay. If it's, take off your shirt or anything, no. If it's, some people like to do this a couple months ago. They did the chase with no seatbelts. That's no. That's putting your life.
Yeah, that's
at risk.
actually not allowed.
Yeah, that's putting your life at risk. That's a no.
There's also a reverse one, which is really stupid as well.
Yes. If you don't want to do a stupid demand, you don't have to. Just reasonably negotiate with them. Don't be an absolute dick and just say no to everything they demand. It's give and take. It's. Hang on, I'm getting an email in my head from someone in this fucking room.
Stay off your phones.
Yeah. But yeah, that's about it for hostage negotiations. Obviously, always have your fucking gun out. We don't want you guys getting taken hostage during a heist.
I think y'all
just not okay.
about having more than one hostage, with the demands and stuff like that. Do you have any advice on that? If they got like 3 or 4 hostages,
we can deny unreasonable demands. If they're using a really fast car and requesting no speed unit, no air 1, you can tell them they can pick one and they'll have to pick something else for the other.
Yeah. You just gotta
we're not there to give them a free getaway.
Yeah, it's give and take on both sides.
I understand that, but what if they got 2 or 3 lives at the hand,
I mean, yeah, but they have to be willing to negotiate with us too.
Yeah.
They know they cannot leave that building unless we give them the go ahead.
All right.
They might have those lives in their hands, but we also have their
at the end.
Ours.
At the end, it's it's discretion of highest on scene to make that call. If
it really comes down to it, I guess if it really comes down to they won't negotiate anything else. I don't know if Chief would advise us to lie and say sure and then do it anyway.
No, we kind of.
What
that's
would you
actually
recommend?
Yeah, with
that's
that
a good
that
point.
whole.
So let me bring that up real quick before we keep going. So this is important, everybody. Please understand this. So anytime negotiations and demands have been agreed upon by both parties, PD no matter what is not allowed to deviate from those demands. Now, both parties have to settle on the demand. So if there's something that you don't want to settle on, do not settle on it. But you can never go back and say, okay, now that everybody's safe, we're just going to say, fuck them. We're not doing that anymore. I know it happened once. I was the one who made that call. Never going to happen again. So again, if you make a negotiation and a demand and it has been agreed upon, you do not go back on that.
Yeah,
we'll just do the questions now. Newman, you had your hands up first. Go first.
Yeah, so basically my question has to pertain to ASU. Let's say they
Can
said
you
no
speak up a
ASU.
little bit, sir?
Hear me better now?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. Pertains to ASU. So let's say they said no ASU, we granted it to them. They immediately go to the coast, get in a boat, and take off. At that point, are we allowed to then get ASU because we have no ability to keep on them, or are we just?
I mean,
to
if
let
they
them
didn't
go?
specify they were going to use a boat.
Bennett, can I actually cut in here because this is exactly what I was going to comment on.
Yeah. Can you come a bit closer to? Come to the middle of the room.
Yeah. If they break negotiations, so negotiations are for the car that they have parked in front of the heist. If they get into another car, if they, get into a boat, whatever, they have broken negotiations on their side, and that immediately means that we can break them on ours. They've already broken negotiations down. They said no Air 1 and they get into another car, we can pull out Air 1.
Sounds good.
That's a hop in as well real quick to add on to that. That actually outright says in ASU SOPs, if they swap cars more than once, we automatically pull Air 1. Or we're cleared for it.
Okay, so yeah.
Well, that implies I can have one swap.
There's a few things here, right? It's kind of a few things kind of going at after each other. So I would say if they break the demands, it's a good point, to be honest with you. I didn't think that one through. I would say if they go ahead and swap within the 15 minutes to a boat, kind of on them that they broke those demands. But at the same time, I don't think we do make it clear that they're not negotiating for that car. They're negotiating for free passage, no spikes. They're not necessarily negotiating to get in that vehicle.
That car though, right? Like,
I mean, I would say if we're gonna start doing that, we have to start making it clear at the scene that, hey, you are negotiating to evade in this vehicle and this vehicle only, and if you break that, then we're gonna break our demands as well.
100%.
So yeah, I would say for now, let's not break our demands no matter what until we get some proper documentation down, written form. But for now, there's absolutely zero deviation from any agreed demands, no matter what.
But maybe take note of the people who make a pattern of that kind of stuff, because if you feel like you know who they are and they're doing that a lot, that's kind of bad. That's kind of fail, if you catch my drift.
But yeah, thank you for bringing that up. It is a very good point that I am going to speak with command staff and the government, and we'll figure something out for that. But thank you for bringing that up. Good.
You got something, Lars?
Yeah, I was gonna bring up that during also hostage situations, if they have a person off-site, one person that is, they need to mention that because otherwise, kind of violates.
Yeah, the city rules do state that outside parties should be named at the time of negotiations.
Yeah, I want you guys to start asking how many in and how many out.
Yeah, also, let me say one thing on this topic. So, like I said, I'm going to speak with the command staff on that one that Newman and Steele brought up. Please make sure that you are reading the announcements, okay? I know a lot of people only read the important ones, but if there's an announcement and you are pinged, read it. There's a reason that it's in there. So please read the announcements. It is on you to make sure that you are keeping up to date with procedures. Go ahead.
I'm done.
Mendoza was
you had your hand up?
Yeah, I actually got a couple questions. So when it comes to like code red and like, just disable, like you're either shooting to disable vehicle or disable the people inside the vehicle, wouldn't shooting tires technically be trying to disable the vehicle? I'm just trying to get some clarification on that.
So yeah, okay, let me say something on that. So if you're shooting your gun, you have intention to kill. I don't care if you're shooting for tires. If you're shooting your gun, they have to be code red. Now,
yes,
the reason it was brought up is because people were using the shooting as tires as a before code red use of force. They were using that to say, okay, hey, they're not code red yet, but we're still going to shoot their tires. That was the main reason for that being brought up. Now, if somebody's deemed code red, I'm not saying you can't shoot their tires. Okay, you probably should shoot your their tires first. You know, make them hit a wall, let them blow a tire. But remember, you are shooting to kill, regardless if you're shooting for the tire or not. That's the only time you can shoot them is if they are code red.
Okay.
And to be clear, if you are shooting them, they are going to be shooting back. So if you are shooting at tires, you are missing your opportunity to disable the driver who is going to shoot at you.
Basically, only go for the tires if you don't have a clear shot at the driver.
Okay, this brought one more thing as well. I just remembered. So when it comes to shooting in vehicles, like car fighting, car shooting, at no time is PD going to shoot out of their vehicles unless and only unless they shoot at you in their vehicle. Okay, so if they are shooting out of their vehicle, you're going to shoot back in your vehicle. But if they don't shoot out of their vehicle at any point, we're not going to do that.
All right. Yeah, that answered both of my questions. Thank you.
All right. Good to continue.
I think so. Yeah.
All right. Next is proper de-escalation. Okay. You know, if someone's being a dick to you, just that's just what they're gonna do. Try your best to remain calm. Be nice, and then just try and control the situation, bring them down from where they are. Obviously, everyone's going to be on edge around us because people hate us for no reason sometimes, or they just are fucking dicks. It happens. Just try and take it in stride, and don't be pissy right back to them, because that's just going to make the situation worse. That's just going to make them want to shoot you more, make them probably want to ocean dump you, and then start Hell Week again. And no one wants Hell Week. If your demand gets denied, this is the next part. If your demand gets denied, it's a negotiation. It's a give and take on both sides. Try and find some wiggle room, obviously. That's basically it on that one. And to reiterate, what are you supposed to have out when you're at a heist, everyone?
Your firearm.
Yeah, your fucking gun. Keep your fucking gun out unless you're actively taking pictures on scene or, looking at the registration of the vehicle. Guns out at all times. It's people without guns out are getting yelled at now. I'm sick of it. It's getting annoying. I'm good to hand it over to Tyler for unit limits.
You got some questions?
Oh, yep. Question?
I'll let Zach go first. He was talking.
Oh, what if they're unarmed?
Can you speak up a little bit, sir?
Yes, what if they're unarmed?
What if they're unarmed?
So at a heist, if they're unarmed, you should still have your gun out just in case, because you never know if they're just going to pull something out. If it's a heist, we're presuming they have a hostage at all times.
Pawn shop. The only thing we ever pull off people at pawn shop is a drill. So that's why I'm asking.
Yeah, if it's a pawn shop and you see they're unarmed and don't have any hostages, you're free to pull out your taser if you want.
Okay.
I'll give a perspective. The reason for it is so you don't get taken hostage. Okay?
Yeah.
And if they start shooting.
I understand. I just want clarity.
Right. If they could have a holster and take a fucking gun out of their pocket in half a second, you're not ready, and now you're a hostage. So just keep your gun out.
Yeah.
All right. Sounds good.
No.
What I wanted to bring up is something that I don't quite see, but I want clarification on. I've already talked to you about it a couple times, but what I'm used to, anyways, is when we're on scene, if they have firearms pointed at hostages, in my opinion, we should have firearms pointed back at them, just in case they were to do something stupid, discharge their firearm. We need to be ready. Most often than not, like I said, just clarification that that's what we're supposed to do, because a lot of the times it does not happen.
I mean, I'm fine with it. It just some people will take it as a step of escalation, and they're just getting a little bit pissy.
I'm gonna step in. We're not doing that. You're not gonna be aiming your gun at them. You're gonna have it out. Now, if they start aiming their guns at you, put your foot down and say, stop doing that. Okay. Because that's a show of force on their end and that will escalate things. So obviously they're going to keep a gun on the hostage. That is their leverage. That is okay. But if they start pointing guns at us and start fucking around, make it clear, put your foot down and say, hey, you're escalating this. Put your fucking gun down.
Sounds good. That's why I wanted clarification.
I saw a question all the way back there.
Newman answered my question.
Okay. Anything else? Okay. Tyler, you're up.
All right. Another issue we've been hearing about is breaking of jurisdiction limits. So I'll keep mine short and sweet, just kind of go over it again. You know, as far as suspicious activity, traffic stops, house robberies, and vehicle tamperings, that is a 2-unit max. And again, a unit is a car. Car can have 2 officers inside, no more. ATMs, stores, and boosts are 3 units. Pawn shops, that is 4. And then your ammunition, your Vangelico, and your Flicas, those are 6-unit response. Bank truck is 8. Now, that all being said, if any time these turn into a pursuit is a maximum of 4 units. Now, there are some caveats to that. And that being that if suspects open fire, we are kind of moving to a new thing where if an officer goes down, 13 alphas called, shots fired at officers, we're moving towards 8-unit response. Same as a bank truck. So no more all hands on deck. It's just 8 closest units, they respond.
That just to be clear, because you said units were vehicles before, you mean 8 officers, correct?
Yeah, I was gonna say that too. So when it comes to shootouts, and if you hear the number 8, okay, that's because crims are limited to 4. Okay, so we're gonna be double. So when it comes to bank trucks and shooting responses, it's not 8 units, it's not 16 cops, it's 8 cops. So 4 units or 8 officers. Now, if there's ever a scenario where there's more than 4 suspects and you've confirmed that, what we're gonna say is PD will always be double the crims. Now, if they only have 2, you're still clear for 8. It's always going to be 8 in a bank truck and a shootout. But let's say they have 5 suspects for some reason, then we're going to move up to 10 officers.
Sounds good.
All right, I'm going to have to adjust the SOP for that too.
Also, one thing as well, real quick. Sorry.
You're good.
Hold on. I got a call. Sorry. Okay. Yeah. This is why we are pretty strict on, only having 2 officers in a vehicle, because if you don't, you're fucking the jurisdiction limit. So unless it's for transport, if you are patrolling, you should never have more than 2 officers in a vehicle at any time, no matter what.
And your dog counts as an officer.
Got some questions? Go ahead.
What about like if you're a solo FTO and you've got 2 cadets? We're still allowed to take 2 cadets out. It's like.
So what I'll say on that, if you're in a situation where there's only, if you're by yourself as an FTO and there's less than 8 cops on anyway, it's a bit different. It's not as much of a problem. It's only a problem when we've got more than 10, 15 officers on duty, and we have some people in 4 officers to a car, 3 officers to a car. Now, when we respond to scenarios that were limited, we're kind of fucked over. But if the city's, low pop and we've got, low amount of officers on and you're doing it for the sake of training, I'm all right with that. But, if there's a lot of, if the population's on the high, then there's no reason for it, because there should be enough officers regardless.
Hey, fun.
Anything else?
We got some more on the right side. Lars, go ahead.
Should we have like a time period then? Like if 8 officers are responding to an officer down and they get gunned down or similar, should another 8 people be on the standby and ready to move in after a set amount of time? Because I said, like, we are supposed to secure the area as well and save the officers.
Okay, so it's a good point. What I will say is, I'll say a few things. So if the 8 go down and we happen to lose the shootout, there's no chance another 8 will immediately respond. That's a definite no. Now, if the suspects are fucking around, taking 30 minutes to go through pockets, then we're gonna bring 8 more. I'm not gonna say 30. I would say that's something I'm gonna put in the SOP after this. It'll probably be 10 or 15, and then we'll allow another 8 to move in. But again, just make sure if there's an announcement, you read it, because I'm gonna announce anytime the SOP changes, you will be notified. And it's on you to make sure you understand that. So good question, Lars. I'll definitely add that to the SOP.
Mendoza.
So this kind of is both a jurisdiction one as well as hostage negotiations. If you're at a store, it's 2 units, correct? 4 officers.
Yeah.
Yep. So and then if they, for their hostage, they negotiate that they don't want the other 2 units to come in for a pursuit. So it's just those 2 during a pursuit. Is that an automatic no, or is that like an up to officer's discretion type of thing?
Fuck that. No, fuck that.
Yeah, I don't think we allow criminals to dictate how many units are able to respond.
No,
That's why we have
for
SOPs.
For what it's worth, 2 officers or 2 units at a store, that means 1 unit in the chase to start. So
Yeah, exactly.
they're already at an advantage.
All right, 10-4.
Also, that brings up another thing as well. There are some, well, there's not any that you'd be outnumbered by, because if there is 2 officers in every unit, then you would always be fine. But there's obviously a lot of people who ride solo, right? So there's also an exception in that jurisdiction policy in the SOP that if at any time PD is outnumbered because of the jurisdiction limit, PD can match. So if there's only 2 officers at a scene because they're both in their own units and there's 4 suspects, we're going to make sure we have at least 4 officers, regardless of what the jurisdiction limit says. Blair, go ahead.
Is he talking?
Anybody hear him?
I don't hear him.
Negative.
Oh, there we go. Sorry.
Okay.
I had my voice box tuned off. So when it comes to like the 13 Alpha Bravo stuff like that, with this jurisdiction limit of being like 8 officers inside of a shootout scene and having to wait 10 to 15 minutes, if an officer, like multiple officers in that scene, do a 13 Bravo, would that be clearance to move in anyways? As like so that we don't have to just be laying there.
Well, okay, so I'll say this. It's a good question. You can, if you see them all go down, you can stage. Like, just don't be close enough to where the suspects are thinking that you're another threat and they're going to start shooting at you. Now, if we get smart enough to the point where we can acknowledge a 13B as clear to move in, sure. But I know a lot of people in this room do not understand the difference, and it's caused a lot of issues in the past. So let me reiterate. 13 Alpha means that you are in immediate danger and you need immediate response. So if I'm here doing some paperwork and I see a 13A, I'm going to fuck right off and I'm going to get over to you. If it's a 13B, it's less, on the emergent priority. So that's more of a call that it's a little bit more safe to move in, right? So I'm cool with that. If we want to all agree and say 13B means clear to move in, but that needs to be understood by everybody in this room. So,
and to piggyback off of Blair's question, we did agree in the command meeting that if we get a call that there is an officer down, that means that officer does not count towards the 8. He is down. He cannot do anything. He is not responding to his own death.
Or she.
Yeah, look at the fucking makeup in this room, Blair. How often is it gonna be she?
Where's the line?
Sir, question.
Yeah, this is actually just to kind of circle back. Y'all mentioned 2 to a store. I thought it was 3 units to a store.
Let me double check.
I mean, Tyler has it up, right?
Also,
it is 3 to a store.
2.0 to the question while I've got the spot and the pedestal. Which is the more
Can you come to the middle of the room, sir? You're a bit quiet.
Yeah, or you speak up.
Yeah, I'll start yelling. Which is the more up-to-date SOP? Because I know there was an incident that came up the other day where some people were looking through the MDT, which, as I was to understand it, is way behind the actual master document that we
I've
have.
heard that. Okay, I've heard that, and that doesn't make any possible sense to me. It's not true, at all. Okay, let me say this. So in the important info channel in our emails, there is a master database of all the documents. Those are the current documents. If there's something you're reading that's not on there, it's not an official document. And if it is, let me know and I'll add it. But the SOP and the MDT, and I'll double check that. Maybe I'm wrong, but it is a direct reflection of the one in the important documents on the document database. We can all test this out real quick just to make sure. I'm going to change the header. I'm going to put Bennett in the header real quick, and you guys let me know if it changes.
Yeah, it's just changing.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, it's changing.
It's exactly the same.
Yeah,
I promise.
There you go.
It's
Yeah, it
the
was.
identical, the identical document. I
But
wrote
people may
them.
have gotten a hold of the old document.
Or
Yeah,
it
and
could be that
I'm
they
not
are
I'm not
reading-
doing that as like, I'm not trying to hit you back on that. Like I'm just saying that is it's a direct copy. I've heard that before. I've heard that people were saying that. The official SOP is the one on the database and it's the one in the SOP. Nothing
Gotcha.
further. We don't have another SOP.
It could be that they are reading the cadet handbook and
Yeah,
mistaking it for the new one.
that's a fair point. I know the cadet handbook needs updating, or to be honest, I may just yoink it because it is really annoying to change something in 2 spots.
Yeah,
So
link the SOPs to them.
yeah. Go ahead, sir, behind Blair.
Can you hear me?
Just start starting.
Yes.
All right. I got the question related to all the 13A stuff. The panic button, the fancy new panic button we have, is that 13A or 13B?
That's an A.
That's an A.
It
Right.
is
So how do we
alpha.
get
It
a
is- it is
13B? Just
panic. If you're 13B, just call for help on the radio.
Yeah.
okay, got it.
If you
I just
are
needed
able
to make sure of that one.
13B means you are not in danger.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I just
Right.
needed
And
to
if
make
you
sure
are
that we
down,
don't
you'll
use
have
our
the
panic
option for
button that.
13B.
All right.
Basically, the only time you should be using a distress signal like that when you're up is when you are in immediate danger anyway. So 13
Also,
makes
let me
sense.
make this clear too, because this is new and we just got this. So listen, when you hit that, well, I'm gonna hit it right now because we're all in the same room. Do we all hear that? Beep, beep, beep.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So listen, if somebody has a gun to your head and they tell you don't hit the fucking panic button and you hit it, they're gonna know. So don't fucking do it. They're gonna kill you. So the only time you really use that is if you can kind of gauge what's happening and you're getting ran up on. Hit the button. But do understand that if you're at gunpoint and you are taken hostage, they will know when you hit your button. So please don't get yourself killed.
Also, don't fucking use it just to fuck around. If anyone hits it and they're not in danger, they're going off duty immediately.
Yeah, it is. Unless it's an accident, I understand if you
Yeah.
accidentally do it. If it happens more than once and you say it's an accident the second time, we're gonna, there's gonna be disciplinary action because like we've all been saying, hitting 13A is a serious deal. It is important. You're gonna shoot out, you're about to die, you're about to get ran up on. It's important. So please be careful when you're hitting that button. I don't know who had their hand up first, but whoever did have their hand up first, go ahead.
Okay. Stealing in. Just gonna say, I'm guessing the panic button is on the vest, so if the crim say he throws the vest away, don't press the button.
Right. It's all in Romeo Papa. If they take your button away or, strip you of your vest, obviously don't hit the button.
You see the nice little red button on the radio?
Yep, that's what your button.
I see on my vest. There's a nice little red button on the top of my mic right here. That's my panic button. It's very close to the radio.
Yeah, it might be on your duty belt.
Yeah.
My thing, real quick, is BCSO doesn't have it right now. Not sure.
Yeah, we're aware. You'll have it next tsunami.
It's all good. We're just built different.
DeVille.
Hang on. Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
my god.
Give me a second. I got it.
God damn
Oh,
it.
there he goes.
I thought it was the Ville that went down. My bad.
No.
You got this shit.
What was there another question while we're?
Yeah, I think there was. You had another question.
Didn't
Put your hands
Harlow?
up real quick.
Nope, mine was already answered.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm just going to take him to the hospital.
I got him. I'm
He's
EMT.
frustrated.
I believe Newman had one though.
Yeah, Newman.
Yeah, it was already answered though.
It was about the.
Does that mean we can move on?
Blair.
Oh no, sorry, that was a fucking spasm.
Alrighty, I think we're good. Anderson, you got anything else on the jurisdiction?
Yeah, just one last thing I wanted to throw in real quick. As far as everyone's aware, we have our specialty units. We have the helicopter, speed, and motor. Those are we're calling those our rapid response now. So they'll be out in patrol, that's fine. Just don't attach them to anything less than a Vanjie or for motor, anything besides a bike. They can be out in patrol, they can arrive on a scene, kind of recon and feed information, but as soon as a regular cage arrives, then they fuck off pretty much.
Yeah, let me add an example to that too. So here's a pretty easy example to understand. So let's say we got a store robbery, up north, and Air One is around for patrol. Air One's SOPs say they cannot respond to a store robbery. However, as stated by Anderson, we're doing a rapid response thing. So Air One is cleared to attach and get recon, and until another unit attaches, they can stay. But the moment another unit gains visual, they have to detach immediately.
Can I add something?
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, Wolf.
And just so you are aware, all of those units do count towards the unit limit. If a chase is limited to 4 units, then you may have 3 and Air 1, or, so on and so forth. Any combo. Air 1 is a unit. So is Moto, so is Speed. They're all the same.
Let me jump in real quick. Make sure to call out that you're fucking responding, though. Some people haven't been calling out that they're responding, and we've been going over limits because of it.
Yeah.
Call out that you're responding, please.
Also, I'm gonna add to that too. Sorry, I know you guys have had your hands up for a while. Just hold. So on that, I know a lot of people will jump on a Vanjie if they see it, and jump on a Fleeka, jump on a bank truck. The bank trucks are different. Those we're no longer just responding to right away. That's going to be coordinated by the highest rank or SWAT officer. If there is a SWAT officer around, they're going to take it, or command. There's a whole structure for that. We'll get to that in a minute. But any other scene, if we get a few within, a couple hours, there's going to be somebody that's been around on shift. If you see the same people jumping on shit and a lot of people are missing out because, people are jumping too fast, let's give everybody a chance to respond. So that's to all my highest ranks on duty. If you see that someone's missing out on some high, high intense jobs like a Fleeka, Evangelico, because other officers are too fast, let's start stepping in and having the people that have been missing out to get a chance to respond. Let's go ahead for questions. Blair, go ahead.
So this has something to do with what Anderson said about, Vanjies and stuff above. What if it's like a pawn shop robbery and they have a T-20 outside?
So the speed SOP is not by job, it's by vehicle.
I know that. I'm just going off of what he said at this moment.
Yeah, each specialty has their own restrictions. So if you are a part of a specialty unit, you should know. It's not on everybody's responsibility to know every single specialty. But if you're a part of a specialty and you're patrolling, you should know what you can and cannot respond to. And if somebody asks for you and they don't know, don't be a dick about it. Just simply say, hey, I can't respond to that, and move on.
Yeah. And then one more thing, actually.
Yep.
Does Moto unit have SOPs still? Because they're not.
They're being finalized at this time. Not out yet.
Okay, so I guess I'll ask this one question here since Yuri, is she still around here?
I don't think so. I think Yuri had to go sleep.
Oh, well, then I'll just ask you this. So say we're chasing like an ATV or something like, a little 4-wheel quad bike thing. Are we allowed to bring Moto unit on that? Because we had to do that the other day.
Yeah. So I'll
okay,
say this to answer your question. So Moto unit moving forward, once the SOPs get finalized, they're going to be used for off-road pursuits and motorcycle pursuits. We can classify ATVs as well. ATVs, four-wheelers, any motorcycle, any off-road vehicle is going to be clear for moto
Raid.
unit because we're no longer using the raid. We're no longer using the BMW street bike. We're moving to a Suzuki dirt bike. So moto is going to be kind of a double off-road and moto. Steel, go ahead.
When are we getting our bikes back?
They're in the shared.
You still?
I got told that they were still being worked on. They there?
Yuri's
They're
under the
there,
assumption that
but
we're gonna have more bikes.
They're there, but they suck right now. I'll say that. They don't have
Fuck.
pursuit modes. They're slow as shit, but they are there.
Alright, I don't care. I'm taking them out.
Go ahead,
Yeah, they're
Newman.
there.
Real quick about
I got a
that,
dip.
too, because
See you
we
guys.
are in
Yeah.
Yep.
because we're in the air, even if we count as one unit. I'd like.
Can you
and we
speak
can
up,
talk
please,
about
sir?
this- Sure. Because ASU is in the air, except for hot dropping scenarios. Even though we count as one unit, if we have to talk about this in more detail, we can. But would it be possible for us to count as one single officer, so we're not limiting ground units?
I'm gonna. Well, okay. Are you referring to shootout situations, or what are you referring to?
Generally, like shootout situations. So if we're
Okay.
up in the air, but we have two officers, I'm asking to count as one officer because we're not going to hot drop.
So
our
the reason
go
for
by
me saying no is because hot dropping. We do it a lot for bank trucks. So you can never be classified as one because you are allowed to hot drop in shootouts. So you always are going to be however many officers are inside.
Okay, sounds good.
Leroy?
Yeah, the whole bike thing kind of brought something up for me. It the fuck?
Don't worry about it.
And balancing extra fun.
Will BCSO be getting any bikes or any other vehicles imported in?
Don't worry about it.
Well, I'll say this, not speaking for your sheriff, but the UPD is now the UPD. The command staff is shared. Same goes for divisions and certifications. We're all one police force. So whatever LSPD can do, you can do.
So I mean, like, as long as I get my certs, I can take like the LSPD, fucking speed, and bike out.
Yes.
All right, good for me. I don't give a fuck.
Yes, right.
Blair.
Does that mean I can drive a car?
No.
Oh.
No, that's BCSO.
Also, Kara, according to the sheriff, is command only. So there you go. Or hot
Yep.
command only.
Any questions? Can we
Questions?
move on? We're almost done here, guys.
All right. Last
All right,
thing I want
think we're
before I
good.
hand it off is pursuit modes. For the love of God, this has been a thorn in our side for the longest time, but pursuit modes are meant to only match the vehicle you are chasing. They are not meant to catch up if you lose sight. They are not meant to outclass. They are only there so that you can keep speed with whatever you are chasing. If I see it happen to where you're abusing it, you'll be striked, and we'll take care of it from there. That's all I have.
Yeah, if you use pursuit modes because you gotta catch up because you lost them, get better at driving.
Get good skill issue.
Exactly.
Exactly. That'd be a shit gun.
Next.
Yep. And I'm going to start off this talk about rank structure by piggybacking off what Anderson just said. I don't want to hear any more people disagreeing in the middle of a chase with what your superior officer has deemed the appropriate mode. Now, if you feel you are being outrun and you want to ask them if you can bump it up, fine. But I don't want to hear people saying, oh, but this vehicle's an A+ and you only gave permission for A. That's no. Be respectful. I'm going to take questions in a minute here. So yeah, basically there has been a lot of, I don't want to say intentional disrespect, but casual disrespect of rank within this PD. And we want to put a stop to this. If someone is above you in rank, there is most likely a reason, and that reason is because they've proven themselves to have the appropriate knowledge and judgment. If you don't believe that they know best in the situation, you can try to address it with them in there, but the best thing to do is going to be to just follow the orders you are given and address it after, either with them or with their superior if you don't feel you can talk it out with them. Basically, you need to know when not to step in. You need to know what your place is with your rank. And of course, everybody in this room is now under the same command. So if there is a BCSO person who outranks an LSPD person, giving them an order, that order is to be followed, and vice versa. You know, we're not two completely separate units anymore. We are one working body. Yes, Blair.
I'm just gonna add on to your thing here. I have a pass with this. Everybody knows that. At least everybody who's been around this PD long.
Mm-hmm.
There's a saying called disagree and commit. If you don't agree with the command given, just do it anyways, and then take it up with the superior officer afterwards.
Yeah, and on that topic, it's going to be very strict moving forward because there's been too much of it. So, you know, if you're given an order and you don't agree with it, sucks. It's unfortunate. The officer that makes the call, and if they outrank you, they outrank you, and you do as you are told. If you have an issue with it, like they were already saying, bring it up with command afterwards. But never, and I mean never, should you ever go against any, order while the scene is still active. An example of that would be, I don't know, let's say we're in a shootout and let's say I give a command that we're going to drop Air 1 and somebody says, no, we're not doing that. Yeah, that's grounds for a strike. So I'll give it back to you, Wolf.
What was the question over there?
So I'm going to ask a weird one.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, let me start yelling. I'm going to ask a weird one. And this is to the UPD setup and then LSPD and BCSO still existing as such. What, I don't mean to step on toes by asking this. I don't mean for it to sound as crass as it does. What's the point of keeping them as separate entities in name if they're not in ranking structure and profiling? Is there special divisions and certs between each or what?
Okay, it's a good question, and it's kind of a sensitive topic, being honest with you.
My thought would be jurisdictional. BCSO still handles Sandy and Polito, and LSPD still handles the city. But if it's UPD, that's just one umbrella. What's the point, basically?
Okay. Not going to speak for Tater. He's not here. This is, you want me to just answer it in one word? It's cosmetic, to be completely honest with you.
Good reason.
Right now, it is simply cosmetic. There's nothing else that separates them other than, nothing I can think of.
Hey, firm, good enough for me.
It's a car.
At least until both rosters are flooded, like, we don't even really have the people to completely separate them.
Yeah, like Wolf said, until we are in a position to split the departments and command structure, it's not going to happen in the near future, not even within the next 2 months. So for right now, it's strictly cosmetic. The car is actually going to be moved to a command vehicle, so LSPD is going to get a livery for it as well.
I'm still not driving it.
Newman?
Newman.
To be honest with you, I completely forgot. That'll come.
Oh no.
Fair enough.
Well, if you remember, just raise your hand again. I think Kevin in the back, you have your hand up. Oh wait, did you remember?
So,
Oh, okay. All right, we'll get you next. Go ahead, Kevin.
So if we're told to do something against SOPs,
no, that's a little different. I mean, if they're gonna tell you to shoot an unarmed civilian, do not shoot that unarmed civilian.
Okay.
We have our discretion for a reason.
But I would like to think that we wouldn't have anyone in command who's going to purposely tell you to do anything against SOPs. If they're accidentally telling you, then go ahead and remind them. Yeah, go ahead and remind them. This would be like, hey, but the SOPs say this. Don't be combative about it. Just be like, hey, I noticed the SOPs said this. Are you sure you want us to? Because odds are they might have just forgot.
That's a good point. Let me say something on that. So, sorry, Wolf, but let me say something on that because I know this happened in the past. So the main reason for that is due to being combative. Okay, if you're combative, that's when you're gonna get a strike for it. Now, if it's a simple reminder, like let's say if I, make a bad call and I'm like, hey, we're gonna breach, or let's say, hey, we're gonna have 10 officers on this pursuit for a store, and Blair reminds me, hey, Bennett, there's only 2. If he says it respectfully, non-combative, then yeah, that's perfectly okay. But if Blair's like, hey, Bennett, the fuck are you doing? 2 only, then he's going to get a strike for it.
Already have.
Yep, Blair.
Did you remember your question, Newman?
Yeah, so basically that's just picking back off of
I'm not a sergeant yet. Speaking which, bash.
Oh. Yeah, soon to be Sergeant Blair.
Okay.
Picking back off what was just said, I'd imagine the only things that you should not listen to are SOP violations, and if they're telling you to do something illegal, that's when you should, take a step back and say, hey, that's not right.
But also, that person probably shouldn't have been made command to begin with, and I guess
Well,
everyone who appointed them should be questioning themselves.
I mean,
If
a
you see
senior
that,
officer
yeah,
isn't
bring it
command,
up.
but they're in charge of people. So, I mean, it's just
Okay, and then in the middle here,
Yeah, going back to pursuit modes.
can you speak up a
obviously-
little?
Going back to pursuit modes.
Mhm.
Yeah, we listen to the commanding officer, but like for example, yesterday I got told go to A plus, but I could easily keep up with A.
Oh, well,
do I
that's
still
different.
keep
You
on
you are
A
allowed to be
plus
in a
or
lesser
just
mode if you want.
suggest go back to A, or just stay on A even though they said go to A plus, but I can still keep up.
Well, there are going to be different vehicles that require different modes. The Stanier and Scout, for example, are just slower on the top end. They may need A plus. If you're fine in A and you stay in A, no one should be striking you for that.
You know.
Okay.
And if you want to suggest over the radio, hey, you know, I'm driving this vehicle, it's fine in A, no one's going to strike you for that either.
Okay, yeah, that's what I had yesterday. So.
But nobody should be
Okay.
going above the approved mode without asking for permission.
Okay, got it.
I
Anderson.
forgot. Yeah, Anderson. It's your son.
It's your son.
Shut it.
No.
So I've struggled with how to word this one because it's going to come out like a little bit abrasive, maybe.
No, that's fine.
If we're on scene and, for example, the OIC, whoever's in charge of the scene, is making some poor calls, I understand, you know, oh, they're the higher rank, we got to respect them if they're making some piss poor calls, or they are just failing to run the scene in general. Like, we've had times with what Angelicos, there's 8 officers in the scene, and everyone's going, who's in charge, who's in charge? Oh, well, that person got here first. Oh, well, that person did this. And, like, you know, for example, if I felt confident, could I just, even if there was a corporal or sergeant, or an officer, could we just go, right now, we're taking it? Because obviously, you know, like, if, say, for example, Rye's here for whatever reason, and he's having a bit of a bad day. I'm just using an example, Parcel. He's having a bit of a bad day. Things aren't going effectively. And I'm like, right, well, this is, you know, comms aren't being made. No one's been told what's going on. Go like, right, look, just, I'll take this off you, pal. Let me take this. You step back.
Okay.
That's not me trying to crap on him for his rank. That's not me
No,
trying
you're
to crap on
fine.
him as a person. That's like, you know, me saying, you know, kind of saying you ain't doing your job properly.
Correct me if
Like,
I'm
let
wrong.
somebody else take it.
I think basic training is first on scene is the one delegating roles. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
because the thing is, we were in a scene earlier at Phoenix 1. We didn't get there initially as Phoenix 1, but it was like, right, what's going on? Who's in control?
Oh, we can't.
I think that guy was in control. Oh, I think that person got it first.
I mean, if there's not
We
an
can't
agreement on who's
delegate
in
as Phoenix
control,
1
then I
anyway.
guess whoever's in control is who takes
But
charge.
that's the
then
thing,
and there.
when but no one knew what the fuck
Here,
was going
I'm
on.
gonna answer
And
this
there's been
one.
a
I'm gonna
few
answer
scenes
this one.
like that when no
So-
one's even stepping up.
Okay, so here's what we'll say. I know a lot of people are like first on scene. I'm gonna leave it up to discretion, because if a cadet is first on scene, I don't want a cadet, you know, unsupervised solo probationary officer, you know, taking lead if they're not comfortable, or, you know, I don't want anybody to feel forced because they are first on scene. So if you're in a situation, Anderson, where you're like, hey, you know, who's taking command, somebody step the fuck up. I don't care who it is. It doesn't have to be the highest officer. It doesn't have to be the first officer. Just somebody take responsibility, take lead. If you're in a situation where nobody knows what's going on and you feel confident, 100% step in and say, hey, I'm going to take scene command and start figuring shit out, because that's the last thing we want at a Vangelico or whatever, where people are confused. There's no control. Hostages' lives are at stake. That's not going to happen. So if you're confident, 100% take command.
To that point, if you're not confident and you're first on scene, just delegate command to somebody else.
Yeah.
That
Yes.
it's part of
Yes.
what you can do. You can say, all right, I'm putting.
Just be like, hey, Robin, can you take charge?
Just, you know, here, take the talking stick.
Also, it's a bit of a tough one because you don't want to come through as seeming disrespectful to the rank.
Yeah.
But
No,
you know,
it's
at the same
yeah.
time, you don't want to let it be a shit show. But
Yeah,
if you're in,
I'll
for
s-
example, like Phoenix 1, we
Yeah.
can't obviously delegate anything, so we're kind of just there watching it
I
all
think
burn.
we can sum it up really as just don't be an asshole when you're bringing up questions. It's like that easy.
But that doesn't even just go for talking to people above you in rank. You shouldn't be disrespecting anyone in this PD. Not if they're the same rank as you, not if they're below you.
Yeah, let me say a piece on that too. So, all right, we all know cadets are cadets. They are the punching bag of the PD, but there is a line, okay? it is all right to, throw a little bit of shade at a cadet, kind of put them through hell. They are the interns of the PD, I guess. But guys, at the end of the day, there is a line. They are humans too. This goes for everybody, not only cadets. This goes for anybody above the rank of officer giving commands. Do not be an asshole. I will say this: if you are somebody in a position of power in this PD and you abuse it, you're done. I have a zero policy for that shit. If you're gonna be a dick and abuse your power, you're gone. You're demoted on the spot, and there'll be further punishments because everybody in a position of command, sergeant and up, as you guys know, I think we only have 6 command right now. Uh, that is because the people in those positions are trusted and vetted, and I trust everybody up here to do their job. I'm very strict about who I put in command, so please respect your power. Do not abuse it. Do not be a dick. Do not be an asshole because I will take it away from you very fucking fast.
Everybody started as a cadet.
Yeah.
To backtrack real quick to the Vanjie's thing with taking responsibility and shit, you can just so I've been doing it the last few times. I don't want to delegate who's the chase order shit and who's taking pictures. So I just say, hey, you're in charge of the scene. I'm taking negotiations. You can also just do that.
Harlow, do you have another question?
Yeah, I did. Okay, so this is adding on to what Anderson was saying about radio chatter on scenes. Maybe this is just a pet peeve of mine, but earlier, I believe this was 2 days ago now, there was a shootout at Humane Labs. Those who were involved know what I'm talking about. But me and a couple officers were in RPD, and over the radio, there was mentioned that they were going to Humane Labs. So we started going there because we knew that was going to be a shootout. So me and the officers were going through the building, had multiple 13 alphas, and we're still running through Humane Labs trying to get to the bottom where the shooter was, and no one had called code 4 or anything like that. So I may have had a little bit of attitude over the radio, but I mean, no one was letting us know what was going on, and I believe I had asked 2 to 3 times.
Yeah, lack of communication has kind of been an issue. It doesn't matter if you're in a pursuit, if you're talking to someone, if you're in a traffic stop, make sure you're communicating what's going on. If your officers are having to ask you multiple times, a question or express concern multiple times, that could be a life. Make sure you're communicating. Yes, Blair.
I just wanted to add on to something that this man on my left here were talking about with pursuit modes earlier. So obviously we have speed unit for a reason. That being said, speed unit and regular vehicles are 2 different, vehicles in general. So speed unit can be, topped out at A mode, while a regular unit like the V-Star or the STX need A+ for something. I'm trying to give you an
don't worry
example
about what
of stuff
mode
like that.
speed unit's in. Just worry about
Yeah.
the mode that the highest in the chase told you to use.
Because speed unit will always most likely be a mode below the other vehicles. Like speed unit might be an A+, and regular units might be an S.
At the end of the day, all that matters is whatever mode you can be in where you keep up with the car without exceeding the speed of the car.
Yep. That being said, though, with that's one thing there. Some cars are going to be in between A and A+. Yeah.
Not everyone's gonna know about the SOPs of other specialized departments, right?
Yeah,
so
I'm just
if
saying.
you have your own, if you have your own knowledge about your specialized departments, just adjust it to whatever the primary officer is asking for.
Yeah.
Right.
That being said, though, I guess I do need to get this cleared up. If a vehicle is between, say A and A+, are we staying in A, or are we allowed to go to A+ and just try not to, abuse it?
I mean, I typically make
No,
the
no,
call
hold
to
on,
remain
hold
in the
on.
higher
We're
mode,
not
but-
doing that. We're not going to be in S mode and tap the throttle. And
I
no,
said A and
we're
A+
not doing
and
that.
S.
Whatever. I use that as a blanket.
He means
You're not going to go
cars that
up a mode
outpace you in
and do
A,
it as a
but-
trust thing. Yeah, no, we're not going to be doing that. I'll say that right now.
All right, so
That's clear. Let me make that clear. You're not going to go up a mode and then tap the throttle and trust yourself, because I know for a fact when you lose sight, you're going to hold the throttle down. So we're not doing that. I would like to get this wrapped up, so let's keep the questions to a minimum. If it's important. We're almost done here. It's kind of been longer than I wanted this to go, so let's keep this moving.
I mean, I think that's everything I had to say. It's just to summarize it: be respectful. Don't be dickheads to each other anymore. I'm tired of it. I think the last bit is Alan's.
Yeah. I'm just gonna go over some general stuff now. Okay. We need to get some scenes cleared up ASAP. Like after a shootout, someone needs to be, cuffing people, bringing them to the hospital, getting people up and ready to go, and shit like that. And obviously, people can stay back for evidence, but it doesn't need to take 20 minutes unless it was like a 30-minute shootout. People have shit to do. We can't just have subjects bleeding on the ground or officers bleeding out on the ground while you're just standing there doing nothing. What?
I just wanted to bring up the situation that happened the other day at Humane.
Blair, I'm sorry, but I want to keep this short. Yeah. If it's a question, ask the question, but it should cover whatever he's saying. Will cover the incident I had.
Yeah. So get scenes cleared up as fast as possible. While getting evidence, obviously. Next, community interaction. Not everyone's a fucking scumbag or a criminal, okay? We need to treat people with respect, Say some lady's just walking down the street. She's a little crabby. She's complaining about everything. That doesn't mean she's a criminal. So, try and treat her with respect. If you're not gonna be able to treat her with respect, just walk away. It's as simple as that. Get another unit to come handle her. Just walk away. And then panic button usage, like I already said, don't fucking use your panic button for no reason. Use it properly. If you don't, you're gonna get yelled at. And I don't like yelling at people, but I will yell at you. And if it becomes a problem, you'll be striked. That's pretty much it. Anyone have any questions? Yes, Mendoza.
This just kind of goes back to pursuit modes. If you're wanting to go, if we're code red and you need to use spike strips, are you able to go into a pursuit mode that is able to pass them to be able to go into spike strips, or do you want us to go use just veer off and use different streets to try and get ahead of them?
I mean, I don't know if this is going to change, but per the SOPs currently outlined, Code Red approves the highest pursuit mode automatically.
Okay.
So just keep your eyes on the SOPs in case that changes, but for now, if they're Code Red, you can go S.
Anything else?
Wait, hold on. Can we back up? Are we talking about Code Red or spike strips?
Well, he was saying if they're Code Red and he wanted to get ahead to use spikes, would he be able to bump it up a mode? And it's like, if they're Code Red, you're already approved for the highest mode.
Okay, but not Code Red.
But you're not allowed to bump it up a mode just to go place spikes on someone not Code Red now. You'll have to find a strategic place within what you've got.
Yeah, just get the skill of paralleling. Yeah, that's about it. If no one else has any more questions. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, just one question. Will it be a change in the SOP about if a hostage, for example, bleeds out or passes out and there's another hostage? Currently, it says, if I remember correctly, it's still counted as a breach time because both are counted as lost at that point.
Can you repeat that? Sorry. I didn't fully
So,
understand.
if you're answering a call and there's two hostages, one hostage inside either dies of passes out or dies from hunger or bled out from a previous injury. Currently, as far as I remember, it says it's you're supposed to breach even though the other hostage is full at health. Will that change or?
Is that what it says? Like for sure?
It was last time I read it, but
yeah, if any scene the hostage has been determined to have been harmed by hostage takers, or if the hostage goes down for any reason, including lack of food or water, PD is immediately authorized to bridge.
Okay. So what I will say on that, I'll review that portion of the SOP, but if the hostage dies, like, you know, hunger or whatever, and they didn't harm them, and there's still more hostages, we're not gonna breach because of that. Same goes, like, even if there's one hostage and they starve, unless you like really know that they deliberately did that, I wouldn't really say that's ground for a breach. Um, you know, maybe if it's one hostage, then yeah. But if there's another hostage that's still up, for sure don't be breaching because one starved to death.
Also,
But I
always
will
be
review the
asking.
SOP for sure.
Always be asking if the hostage needs food and water. Always. Could be our top priority is their safety. So if they're hungry and they die, that's kind of on us.
And also, I think as well, like sometimes the suspects gets more time, even though like if they go over a certain amount of time, they are supposed to change one hostage for more time, rather than not having air one or something. Will that also change, or will it be kept at the same?
So you're referring to the public library rulebook, right?
Correcto.
Yeah. So I'll say this too: the public library is above all and everything. So if the public library says one thing, and then your SOP says another, you have to follow what the library says because those are government set rules. So yeah, if you do get into a case where they go over the allowed time, they do have to give a hostage in return. It's probably a good idea that I make an announcement for everybody to read that because there are scenarios that the public library does allow a PD breach, you know, if something gets hit. So I'll definitely make that clear in the announcements moving forward. But yeah.
Wait, are we free?
I think we're good. Are we all done?
I'm good.
All right, everybody get the fuck out of here. Sorry it took so damn long. Thank you for listening. We're going to get it posted.
Bennett, just